Officer Carignan?
Yeah. Hi, Lily. I'm Rachel, and this is my transition speech. Yeah. So this is me. I was born and raised up until 7th grade in Cumberland, which is right outside of Portland. I went to Greeley Elementary and then middle school, which is kind of one of our rivals now at MDI. My passions growing up, much like other kids, were dressing up in situations where you might not want somebody to dress up, eating constantly, really large burgers especially, and climbing up onto random objects. I did this all in the hopes of making someone else smile and laugh. That was one of my biggest passions as a child. I really loved making somebody else smile and making someone else laugh and bringing them joy. That was like one of my biggest things that I loved. My biggest audience was my family, especially my mom. My mom is very polite in a way. She's very much put together and follows more of a traditional lifestyle than my dad does. And if you can make her laugh or make her do that like she did in the bottom picture, it's like a great feat. So making her laugh is one of my biggest goals in life. My mom is a big influence to me because in college she got her degree in graphic design and actually worked for a couple magazines and did their layout and did her own art was featured in these magazines. And she was the one that inspired me to travel, and she was the one that inspired me to start taking pictures and get involved in arts. Because of my mom, I have traveled to over 15 countries, I think, including Bermuda and Scotland, obviously. This past summer, I went to Israel for 5 weeks. I went to Switzerland, Germany, Poland, Hungary. And taking pictures along the way has really been something that I love to do, and I would love to turn it into a career. I love to take pictures because it takes the moment that you're living in then and it just expands it forever, and then you can bring it home, share it with everybody and anybody in the world, and then they can interpret it in their own way. So it's really like your own moment multiplied by however many people see it, because whenever someone sees a picture, they take it in their own way, and it's not necessarily what you think, but it's what they think too. Yeah, so this is some of my job opportunities that I've been exploring throughout my life. Photojournalism obviously has been a big one. I think that it would be such a cool idea, and ever since I was really little and I got my first little scroll and click picture that you have to take to Walmart and get developed, I wanted to take pictures and photographs for National Geographic. I think that would be such an amazing opportunity to be able to travel the world and take pictures for people. I also am really interested in political psychology, which isn't just poli-sci, but it's also looking at the cultures and the laws that people around the world have and how they've adapted them. So it looks at why some cultures in Africa have kept their same clothing and kept their same traditions and tribal traditions, whereas New York changes every 10 minutes. So it's really interesting as to look at the psychology behind all of that. I'm also really interested in marketing and seeing what is popular within people, and then figuring out how you can not necessarily exploit that, but use that to your advantage, and take a product or take a sports team and be able to use what's popular right now and get that into the heads of other people around you. I've always loved history, and my dad's entire side of his family is teachers. My grandfather was the Dean of Bates for 30 years, I think. My grandmother is now a substitute teacher. She's 82, I think. All of my dad's siblings are teachers, and all of their spouses are teachers. It's ridiculous. And I've always loved history, so I kind of felt that naturally that would kind of work together. I also really am into social justice and social action. I did a lot of stuff with the gun violence this year, and I'm really interested in helping everybody else that's not as fortunate as we are. I think it's really important that somebody stands up for everybody else that doesn't have all the same rights and needs as everybody else. So photojournalism, I've already talked about this a little bit, but some of the things that you need to get a job specifically for National Geographic is you need 5 years of experience, which is very intense, and you have to, it's not a very well paying job, so you would be like going around taking pictures for weddings or like family portrait photos, which is good, and that would be really cool and really interesting to do. I think that would be a really interesting job, but it's not as well paid, and you still have to go to college for a bunch of years, and they like you to have at least 1 degree in fine arts and one outside of the art type of realm, so like either in journalism or in the sciences or anything else. They just like you to have some other type of perspective on the world. It's also very competitive, so it might not be the best option for me in my future. Psychology is one of the top 10 majors for college students around the country. I'm very, very interested in this. I love figuring out why people do what they do and the body language, and how body language is like 90% of how people communicate to each other. I think that's really interesting. I'm taking an AP Psych course next year. I took psychology last year, and I took an independent psych class with Ms. Strout and Diaz this year. I'm really interested in this field, and I think that you can apply it to almost any job that you're interested in, even if it's not a direct psychology class, like field. You can apply it to any working one-on-one with people job. So NIFTY is the Northern Federation of Temple Youth. There are 19 regions around the country, including 3 in Canada. This is something that I'm very, very passionate about, and if you know me, you know that I talk about it all the time. This was how I first got into social justice and social action, how I actually started taking action with this. I was elected and was nominated and then elected onto the regional board for the social action. So I'm the social action vice president. This is really good because it opens up a lot of doors for me in the future. Over the summer, I'm going on a 2-week-long conference. Half of it's going to be in New York, and half of it is in DC at like the Capitol building, and we get to meet senators and work with everybody, and it's going to be really awesome. It's also a big step for me in colleges. Like, colleges are very aware of NIFTY as a whole, and it's really something that helps out, and that's not why I did it at all, but I know a lot of college professors because of it. Yeah. So, because of colleges, these are top 5 schools right now. I really am into St. Thomas University. It's a school in Canada. It's really interesting. I just got their book award for humanities and social action work. They offered me a $5,000 scholarship every year that I would attend there, and I also get a 3-day-long tour in the summer with like all expenses paid, and you get to meet professors, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting if I go there. American University is in DC, and if I don't go somewhere in DC, I want to do some type of semester in DC or do some type of internship there, because I'm really just fascinated with the city itself, and it's where a lot of opportunities for social action can kind of open up there. StFX is in Antigonish, Nova Scotia in Canada. It's a medium-sized school. It's about 5,000 undergrad students. Because it's Canadian, it's not that expensive, and you also get a lot of scholarships just if you're average grade is above an 80%. They have a gorgeous campus, and it's right next to all these mountains, as you can see. And they have a lot of really good programs, which I would be really interested in going to. St. Mike's is in Vermont. It's really close to UVM. Actually, it's like 15 minutes away. It's really interesting. They've already offered me a very large scholarship, or not very large, but like a pretty large scholarship for them. It's a pretty small school, but it's really interesting, and I really like it. They also have a really large theater program, and I haven't really been that involved in being in theater, but I've done tech for a lot of shows and for a lot of like musicals and show choir and stuff around the island. Brandeis is my beach school. I really like it, and my mom went there. She's taking online courses from there for her master's degree right now, actually. It is a Jewish-funded school, so like all the founders were Jewish. So I think it would be really interesting to go somewhere where I'm not the minority and I'm not like the token Jew like I am everywhere else. I think it would be really interesting to go there. They have some really good courses there, and in their psychology department, they actually have 19 subsections that you can focus on, which is pretty big because usually it's just like psychology and then behavioral psych and then little tiny things after that. But this has 19 things, including music psychology, art psychology, and a bunch of other things like that. And they have a really good summer program, which I might take for online Hebrew courses. In 10 years, I'll be 27, and hopefully I will have a steady job, and I've gotten my undergraduate degree and my graduate's degree. I hope to live somewhere, not in a city, but kind of outside one. I want to be close enough to nature that I can go on little hikes if I want to, or sit on a beach somewhere and just like relax with my family. But I would also want to be not in the middle of nowhere like MDI, and you can take a quick bus or train ride into the city and just go out to dinner for a night. I would want to get my master's at some point, either by the time I'm 27 or by I'm 27 I hope that I would be starting to work on getting my master's, whether that be in psychology or some other field.
Can you explain a little bit more about the stuff, like the work you do with Miffy?
Yeah. So we have the largest region, Nifty Northeast. So there are 9 states in our region, I believe. There's about 3,000 kids in it. There are 10 board members in total, so 9 others. We do programs throughout the year. So actually right now I'm planning one. I was trying to brainstorm with Lily the other day about some type of fundraising. Last year we did, it's like fun little fundraising things for different topics. So you write programs to educate people, and then one of our themes is disabilities this year. So we're doing a bunch of different programs on disabilities, and then you have some fun type of activity to actually raise money for it. So last year they did like a pie in the face type of competition, and they had like 5 jars out, and different people were like different jars, and whoever got the most money got pies in the face. And then they raised so much money that they were like, if you get this amount of money, we'll just pie everybody, and then we'll pie the directors, and then we'll throw them in the lake. Like, you just go and go, and then, yeah. So you just kind of help out with all these things, and we're connected with a lot of affiliation, like religious affiliations, but also just with regular like politicians and people in the West Wing, even of the White House. It's really cool.
What does it stand for again?
The Northern Federation of Temple Youth.
Oh, Temple, okay.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, and this is
Yeah.
actually for both you and Claire, because I forgot to ask Claire. How do you guys get contacted by schools? Like, did you say St. Michael's contacted you? And Claire, you said
Sweetbriar.
Super. Like, how does that happen?
I don't know how it happened for Claire, but because I got on Nifty board and because I got the book scholarship, I signed up and I went to a tour at St. Mike's. They had my name from that, and they also had my name from the scholarship and from being on the Nifty board. And so they send out, like, I get a bunch of emails. I think I got 5 emails from St. Mike's yesterday, and then like 3 from the school I've never even heard of, because they heard about like this social action stuff that I'm doing. I don't know how it worked for you.
And they offered you money?
Yeah.
Like $5,000 a year?
Yeah.
Canadian?
American dollars.
American dollars.
Yeah, for St. Thomas, and then St. Mike's offered me $7,000 a year.
Wow. Good.
Yeah.
Claire, how did Sweetbriar reach out to you?
They initially wrote me handwritten letters, and then I was like, this is weird. So I don't know how they got my information, but then
It's okay, people still use pens. It's alright.
but like, if you're getting an email from a college, it's usually like more to like one person.
Yeah.
And then I started emailing them just about like what they offered and their resources, and then we've just been in contact.
But how did they find you in the first place?
I don't know.
Isn't that interesting?
College board, probably.
Yeah, probably the college board, but like,
It's still weird.
it is weird because it was the day after I took the SATs, and I was like, well, maybe my SAT scores better. I'm like, it's been a day.
No.
It's been a day.
It's really interesting. I mean, those are great opportunities, you know? And it's hard to not want to act on that further, right?
Yeah.
Huh. Other questions for Rach? What about your activism? So you mentioned that you're involved politically in Nifty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what kinds of specific things have you done?
Well, I organized a March for Our Lives. So we did we like joined the March for Our Lives. That was, when was that? March? In March? Right?
No.
Or,
April.
yeah, I think it was March
It
or
was
April.
March.
Something like that.
Because there's you guys did something a week here after.
Yeah, so I helped
Parkland.
organize that for the school, but then for Nifty, I didn't go down with the school that week, and I didn't march with the school because I had made a program and contacted a bunch of people that were in the Boston, Massachusetts area, and I got buses organized, and we figured out how to get people from one like temple to the actual March for Our Lives like spot, and so I helped organize. I think 200 kids came to that, and we got all those people from Nifty Northeast to come and go to the March for Our Lives. That was the most recent thing that I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. And what other countries have you gone to? You mentioned Bermuda
Oh yeah.
and a few European countries, but
Yeah. I've been to Scotland, Ireland, England, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Switzerland, Hungary. I can't remember. I've been to Singapore. That was really cool. In Malaysia. Canada, obviously, and a few other, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. Yeah, I really like to travel.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for Rachel. Thank you.